Clara stepped off the bus, her heart racing as she took in the small, eerie town that would be her new home. The sky hung low and grey, casting a shadow over the old houses that lined the streets. As she approached the ancient mansion perched on the hill, a shiver ran down her spine. The air was thick with silence, and an unsettling feeling settled in her chest. She had heard whispers about the play stories of a shadow that appeared in the highest window, a reminder of the past that loomed over the present. Clara took a deep breath and walked inside, ready to face whatever awaited her. As Clara settled into her new home, the mansion's creaks and groans became familiar companions. She spent her days unpacking and exploring, but it was the nights that filled her with unease. It began on the second night when, as she lay in bed, she noticed a dark shape moving in the corner of her eye. Turning her head, she gasped. There it was, the shadow, lurking in the highest window, stark against the moonlight. Despite the chill it sent through her, she couldn't look away. The shadow seemed to pulse with life, as if it had a presence of its own. Clara tried to dismiss it as a figment of her imagination, but its constant return gnawed at her. It felt as if the mansion itself was watching her, urging her to uncover the truth hidden within its walls. Clara knew she couldn't ignore it any longer. She had to confront the mystery of the shadow. That night, sleep eluded Clara as images of the shadow danced in her mind. She tossed and turned, each creak of the house amplifying her anxiety. Finally, exhaustion took over, and she slipped into a restless slumber. But the nightmares came vivid and haunting. In her dreams, the shadow loomed larger, whispering secrets she couldn't comprehend. It wrapped around her, cold and suffocating, pulling her into a dark abyss. Each night brought a new nightmare, revealing fragments of her past, her childhood fears, her insecurities, and the pain she thought she had buried. Clara woke up gasping, the weight of her dreams pressing heavily on her chest. It became clear that the shadow was more than just a figment of her imagination. It was a manifestation of her deepest fears, the unresolved trauma that haunted her. As the sun rose, she realized that to find peace, she would have to confront whatever was lurking in the dark. After nights of restless sleep and haunting nightmares, Clara felt a growing sense of urgency. She could no longer ignore the shadow that haunted her, nor the fears it represented. Sitting on the edge of her bed, she took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. "I have to face it," she whispered, her voice trembling with determination. The mansion felt alive, as if urging her to uncover the truth. Clara knew that understanding the shadow was her only chance to escape its grip. With renewed resolve, she planned to confront it that very night, ready to unearth the secrets hidden within the darkness. The night was heavy with anticipation as Clara made her way up the winding staircase, each step echoing. In the stillness of the mansion, the air felt charged, thick with an energy that both frightened and excited her. She reached the door to the highest room, the source of the shadow that had tormented her for days. With a trembling hand, she turned the doorknob and stepped inside. The room was dimly lit by the pale moonlight streaming through the window. Clara's heart raced as she approached the shadow, which now appeared more defined, more alive than ever. It swayed gently, like a dark flame flickering in the night, as she stood before it. The shadow began to shift, taking on a form that mirrored her own. "Clara," it whispered, its voice echoing through her mind, sending chills down her spine. "I see you." In that moment, she felt an overwhelming sense of dread and familiarity wash over her. The shadow wasn't just an observer. It was a reflection of her deepest fears. Clara's heart pounded as she faced the darkness head-on, realizing that she had to confront not only the shadow, but also the pain buried within her. Clara stood frozen before the shadow, her mind racing. It was as if the darkness had unlocked a floodgate of memories she had tried so hard to forget. "What do you want from me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The shadow writhed and responded, "I am the fear you refuse to face. I am your past, your pain." Each word struck her like a physical blow, forcing her to confront the memories of loss and regret that had haunted her for years. As she stared into the depths of the shadow, Clara felt the walls she had built around herself start to crumble. Images of her childhood flashed before her eyes, moments of happiness overshadowed by her struggles and insecurities. Tears streamed down her face as she realized that the only way to escape the grip of the shadow was to embrace her pain. With newfound determination, Clara took a step forward. "I won't let you control me anymore," she declared, ready to confront her fears and reclaim her life from the darkness that had held her captive for far too long. Clara's heart raced as she faced the shadow, the embodiment of her fears. In that moment, she understood that running away would no longer work. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her past pressing down on her. "You are a part of me," she said firmly, embracing the truth of her struggles. As the words left her lips, the shadow began to dissolve, its dark tendrils intertwining with the light of the moon. Clara felt a warmth enveloping her, sense of peace washing over her. She finally accepted that her fears and memories didn't define her. They were simply chapters of her story, and she was ready to turn the page. With the shadow fading into the night, Clara felt a lightness she hadn't known in years. She stepped back from the window, the room now filled with a gentle glow. The weight of her fears had lifted, replaced by a sense of clarity and hope. As she descended the stairs of the mansion, she took one last look at the window where the shadow had lingered for so long. "Thank you for showing me the way," she whispered, knowing she had emerged stronger. Clara stepped outside, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. The dawn broke on the horizon, symbolizing her new beginning, free from the shadows of her past.